Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us this morning, and welcome to what has already been a session unlike any other. We have a great deal of work to do for the people of Montana. It's been an incredibly long year with unprecedented threats to our health and our economy. And we know many Montanans are still struggling. Despite those struggles, Montanans have fought to move forward, made sacrifices, and protected their communities. From our frontline workers and grocery store clerks, nurses, doctors, teachers, and public employees, we fought to keep businesses and schools open. Now we must fight for them. This session, Montana Democrats will be united in working to move Montana forward, to create jobs, grow the economy and wages, and protect healthcare and a quality education. We will fight for a responsible budget that is balanced without eliminating essential services Montanans have depended on during the pandemic, and without raising taxes on hardworking Montanans. In Montana, we have a long history of coming together with our colleagues to build a conservative budget that doesn't spend more than we take in and is prepared for the unexpected. Because of that, Montana is in one of the best positions in the nation when it comes to our budget, and we have maximum reserves to ensure that we can avoid making harmful cuts this session that will hurt our economy. Montanans have been relying on the state's economic response over this last year, providing grants to small businesses, ensuring Montanans in need have access to unemployment insurance and economic relief programs. Making cuts now when it's not fiscally necessary is senseless and would actually slow our economic recovery, eliminate jobs, and of course, reduce access to essential Montana services. Democrats will reject unnecessary and ideological cuts that risk slowing economic recovery, would place Montana's families in jeopardy, and will have long-lasting ramifications to healthcare, education, and other important services. We will protect the things that we know work and will help the economy grow over the coming years. Over the next couple of weeks, Democrats will introduce legislation to meaningfully improve the lives of working Montanans, support a fast economic recovery, and stimulate job growth. Those proposals include building on the infrastructure investments that we've made last session. By taking advantage of historically low interest rates, we can put shovels to dirt and create good-paying jobs in every part of the state, while ensuring our communities, especially in rural areas, have critical infrastructure they need to remain viable. We will propose actual tax relief from hardworking Montanans. We will fight against any proposals that shifts taxes to the low and middle earners, or that gives tax breaks to out-of-state millionaires. Montanans have been working hard throughout the pandemic and have risked their health. They are the ones that deserve a tax cut, not out-of-state millionaires who came to hide out in Montana from the pandemic. We as Democrats will fight to make sure that they get it. We know wages for essential jobs have not kept up with the cost of living. Many Montanans are just barely getting by. Others are working multiple jobs and long hours just to make ends meet. We need to create good-paying jobs, but we also need to make sure that those working full-time in restaurants, grocery stores, or as caretakers can live in a decent home and put food on the table for their families. Democrats will bring legislation to increase the minimum wage to put more money in the pockets of hardworking Montanans, and will help narrow the wage gap for women, since most of them work in the minimum wage jobs in Montana. The stakes of this session couldn't be higher. Montanans are relying on us to deliver on the tools that they need to be successful. We look forward to working with anyone who shares our vision to move Montana forward and protect the state that we all call home. We will stand shoulder to shoulder with Montanans across our state to improve their lives and increase opportunities. Thank you, and now I'll turn it over to the Minority Leader for her remarks and further on the Democratic priorities.
Hey guys, can you hear me? Thanks for coming outside with us. Obviously, this is a different kind of session. I know there's been a lot of talk. I'm Kim Abbott. I represent Helena, the minority leader in the House caucus, and I know there's been a lot of talk over the last 4 to 6 weeks about rules, and we are very excited to get down to work on issues that matter to Montanans with those votes behind us. And the bottom line for us is we recognize that after coming out of the last year, Montana working families have had a hard time. And we are laser focused on making sure that we're creating economic opportunity and a situation where we're creating good jobs for every Montanan, no matter where they live in the state. And so I'm going to run through some of our priorities. We are laser focused on treating rural broadband as the critical infrastructure we know it is, as important as roads and bridges, to growing our economy and making sure that small businesses can compete. We know it's a game changer for rural places, for tribal communities, and we are going to put forward a package that makes sure that we deliver for Montanans in a way that makes sense for critical infrastructure all across the state. In terms of healthcare, we've done a lot. We've expanded access and we've increased affordability, and we need to hold on to it in every way that we can. We know that healthcare is the fastest growing industry in the state of Montana, and we're going to make sure that our workforce is ready and investing. Medicaid expansion needs to be protected. We all know that it's critical to our healthcare system, but what some people don't realize is how critical it is to our economy. 2/3 of Montana businesses have an employee enrolled in Medicaid expansion. It's just critical that we protect it. And we're also going to focus on prescription drug transparency. We need to understand how we can keep costs down for all Montanans in the private market. That's going to be a big priority for us. The surest way that we know how to create a growing economy that includes everyone all across the state is by investing in public education. Democrats have been leaders on that. We'll continue to lead on that. We're going to double down on career and technical education, and we're going to continue to invest in our K-12 public schools. We know that that means that we'll have a workforce ready now and into the future. Those are our priorities. They're in jobs in the economy and investing in infrastructure. They're in including everyone across the state of Montana in those packages. It's in expanding access to healthcare and keeping costs down, and it's investing in education. You're going to hear us laser focused on that every single day as our caucus gets to work. You'll see us roll out our package over the next 2 weeks and work hard to make sure that they get across the finish line. We think that people on the other side of the aisle will come across and work because these are policies that make sense for Montana. And with that, I'd open up to any questions y'all have.
Representative Abbott and both Senator Cohenauer as well. Governor Gianforte says that he's reached out to you guys across the aisle. I'm wondering what the nature of those conversations have been, and what have the interactions been like with the governor so far?
Yeah, we had, I think, a good conversation with both House and Senate leadership, with the governor-elect at the time and some of his staff. I think that those conversations have been good. We look forward to figuring out how we can deliver for our constituents. I think you may see differences in approach, but I think that we appreciate that he's reached out and we're ready to get to work.
And just to follow up on that, the House, Senate, and the joint rules have obviously been a challenge to kind of get pen to paper for this session. What do you think has been the biggest challenge? Have been the biggest challenges in getting those rules finalized for the session?
Well, Democrats demanded a plan that set clear expectations for how the session would run and demanded that everyone that does business at the Capitol could count on understanding how they could interact. Republicans didn't deliver on that. We have work to do on that over the next couple weeks for sure.
Could I just follow up on that just for a moment? I mean, we've said all along that we really needed to have that plan before we ever walked in. We're seeing as we move through this, the behavior yesterday, the committees yesterday, the stuff that we're seeing right now is actually going to put Montanans in jeopardy. And so we're going to continue to work through any avenue that they will allow for us to work in to make sure that this place and this building is a safe place for us to work in, and that folks in Montana can engage in the legislative process to fully have their voice heard in this legislature.
I just wanted to follow up on that. I'm curious what that look, or what that work to push back looks like on public health precautions. thought on the COVID panel, what that look like?
The joint rules call for a COVID panel to address policies for the building. We'll work through that panel. We're worried about the ripple effect that our behavior in this building has throughout local economies all across the state. House Democrats have protocols that we'll be following for anyone that works in this building. And we'll do our best without clear Republican leadership to have a safe workplace for ourselves and protect Montana communities from our behavior here.
I just have one follow-up on that as well. I'm curious, in talking about issues that you'll be handling this session and people who maybe want to come and testify on those bills, how are you advising your constituents to interact with this session?
We've suggested that the public participate in the safest way possible, and we believe that that's through remote testimony, by getting in touch with us in writing over electronic means. And I don't know, Senator Konauer, if you have...
Yeah. So one of the things that people should understand is, especially having all of you here, that will help get the word out. We need folks that want to interact with the legislature to register for Zoom access to committees at 12 o'clock the day before. If you want to participate via Zoom or by electronic means, remote participation, you'll need to sign up with that committee to make sure that you can get on there. It is a logistical nightmare. We all understand that this is going to be very difficult to get folks in, get their voice heard. But one thing to understand is if you want the committee to have your written testimony before the hearing on a bill, you need to get that in before 12 o'clock the day before. If you want the Zoom account link so that you can participate remotely for the next day's bill hearings, you need to register and get that Zoom link. That's what I would recommend that people do. We're going to hopefully be able to work out some additional details on how people might be able to remotely address committees by maybe having some offsite spots where people can actually go and be socially distanced and wear masks and then get on. But those details are things that have to be worked through on the COVID panel. We haven't talked about them, which is very disappointing. We should have come in here with the plan already in place and ready to rock on behalf of Montanans.
I've got a question over Zoom, so Kimberly, can you hear? Can you ask? Yeah.
Yeah, so already the ruling the law and Justice Committee has said that they will not allow remote testimony. So if those kind of decisions happen, what can be done?
So we've already spoken to the majority leadership and expressed our concern and the fact that on that discussion that happened in the Judiciary Committee this morning is very concerning on behalf of Montanans. The ability to be able to remotely interact with committees is going to be a necessary part of this session. And there are legal liabilities and ramifications to it for the legislature if there are barriers put in front of public participation. I believe that working with the majority, they've already expressed that they want to work through this issue. There are meetings going on with the chairs of committees discussing with them how we can move forward. I have been assured by the majority in the Senate that they will work with us on this. So stay tuned. My hope is that we'll get there and that the remote participation for the public will be opened up and be available for every Montanan.
I just have a question about policies and priorities. Is there specific legislation in the next week or two that we should be looking at? Just kind of wonder if there's bill numbers or the real specifics of stuff that you'd like to get into.
We're in the drafting process, and we can follow up with you on LCs. That's okay.
Yeah. What can the state really do with broadband access? My understanding is that historically the federal spending
Yeah. So I think that we've seen a lot of good examples in other states. West Virginia comes to mind with a comprehensive plan for broadband. I think we've seen states be most successful where there is a clear plan that we're executing over a period of time that people understand. So we're looking at, there are a lot of good examples that we're looking at as we draft these.
Oh, there's a bill last session.
That's a giveaway to giant corporations that has no guarantee of success for Montana communities, especially rural communities. So no, I don't think that would find success in our caucus.
Well, and I'd like to follow up on that. In that particular bill, it actually started out better than it ended up. It was actually going to incentivize some of the smaller co-ops and in the more rural areas of Montana, incentivize them to build out. And then it turned into basically paying the large telecoms for doing what they were already doing. And I don't think that that is a way to move Montana forward. And for me, if you're going to pay them for what they were already going to do, then that's not improving things for Montanans. It's not moving us forward. It's not making access to broadband for school-age students in their communities any better.
Anybody else? Well, I think that's about it. Thank you guys so much for coming outside with us. We're excited to get to work, and we're excited to follow up with you over the next couple of weeks as we roll out these policies. Thanks, you guys.
Thank you.